with the mission to keep as many men on as many guns for as long as possible. We call him Doc. Welcome to Combat Vet Vision. And now your host, Aaron Chief Seibert.
Hey, how's everybody doing? Welcome to Combat Vet Vision on Memorial Day. Hey, this is a chance where I get to talk about my opinions, my situations, whatever it might be, my course of life, how I'm dealing as a combat vet, how I'm dealing as a vet, especially on Memorial Day. I'm lucky enough to have two buddies with me today, two battle buddies, guys that I work with on a week-to-week basis, guys that are involved in a lot of the programs that I'm involved in. I got Vince Ray and Kennedy and Tom Kennedy. Man, I've had a lot of stuff going on today, so I apologize. But yeah, Thomas Kennedy, good buddy of mine. We've known each other for years. All these guys have. Hey, welcome to the show. Yeah, I'm gonna go through an introduction real quick. We're gonna go through these introductions, and then we'll get into it. I'm Aaron Seibert, lucky to be alive after being hit with a mortar round. Took over 100 pieces of shrapnel in 2006 April. I would have been in the grave. I live by a policy that suicide's not an option for me because those that were buried would not be very inviting if I tried to crawl in the grave with them, because they lost their lives and didn't have a chance to come back and spend any time with their family, friends, life in general. So there's a couple things that I go on and, you know, as I've talked to a lot of buddies this week, a lot of them has stated to me that, you know, if we were in the grave, we would like America to be able to enjoy itself on this day, but take this day to remember. So we'll get into that. But my introduction is that, man, I'm lucky to be alive. I'm lucky to be with these guys. I'm lucky to serve with these guys. I call it my never-ending last duty station with the Warrior Built and the PTSD Foundation of America and Combat Vet Vision and all the other things that I'm involved in. So, Vince, go ahead, man. Give your introduction, brother.
Good to go. Vince, Marine Corps, OIF, OEF, and OND. Basically, PTSD, TBI. Got a delayed onset degenerative TBI that caused me quite a bit of brain damage. Now, basically going to Warrior Group as always and trying to keep things as lively as possible. Just graduated from the Loyola Marymount Vet to Peer program and volunteering now with Warrior Built and PTSD Foundation of America, just trying to help out more vets.
Thanks, brother. Tom, go ahead, brother.
Tom Kennedy, Marine Corps, California National Guard, Army side. First Gulf War, OND, set off the coast of Somalia. I didn't get to go in when all that shit happened for Black Hawk Down. PTSD, anxiety, depression, and I'm a recovering alcoholic. And I also do a podcast, Tom's Journey, on YouTube to try to help people find a path the way I did. It's not a way sober or to get back on your feet, but it's what I did. And also, I've had a lot of friends that have committed suicide, and that's not the way out. Some were vets, some were not. It just depends on what's going on in someone's life. And if it wasn't for this organization, PTSD Foundation of America and Warrior Built, I would not be where I'm at today. They're just one of the tools I use in my toolbox to try to get through life. That's pretty much what I got for now.
Thanks, guys. I think before we get started in what this day kind of means to us, and we'll go into that. Hey, Brian, if you got that public service message from the VA, we'll jump on that right now if that's cool. Over there.
This message is from the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. Veteran service organizations, often known as VSOs, offer many services for veterans, service members, dependents, and survivors. Whether it's holding job fairs, finding solutions to challenges such as homelessness, healthcare, or financial issues, or educating veterans on federal, state, county, and local benefits, VSOs are a great resource for veterans. VSOs also offer veterans a place to socialize with other veterans for peer support. Plus, for help filing a claim or appeal, you may want to work with an accredited lawyer, a claims agent, or a VSO. VA trusts these professionals because they're certified in VA claim and appeal processes. To learn more, go to va.gov and search for VSOs.
Hey, thanks. Hey, this is being brought to you by SitchRadio.com. This is the platform that my podcast has been on, and Brian Colburn, who runs it, United States Marine, has helped me in this journey. And as we go through and we talk about what today means to America, I want to let you guys know that Memorial Day is more like an everyday occurrence for most of us in here. And I want to say that because we spend so much time focusing on a lot of involvement in ourselves, others. We got a great buddy that works at the cemetery, the Riverside National Cemetery. I was talking to him this week. He basically has asked if anybody can come down and help support. Everybody comes and puts the flags in, but when it comes to pulling the flags out of the grave sites on Tuesday, it'd be really awesome if anybody would get down to the Riverside National Cemetery, check in there and just get to volunteer in some time. I mean, everybody wants to do that. So it's another chance to just kind of take some time to think about what's going on, what today meant, and pull those flags back out and for next year's evolution. But this is an everyday thing for us, for most of us in here. I mean, for everybody in here, because these guys spend a lot of time talking to me throughout the week. For me, I talk to a lot of vets that are always on the edge. They may be on the edge today, tomorrow, some other day. We come together on a warrior group on Tuesday nights most of the time and speak about some problems or issues or some very crazy subject matter. It's very hard to share with our family, friends, and society. But we spend that time doing it there. Hopefully curving some of these guys that have passed away. And when you think about those that have passed away in service, I was talking to these guys earlier about it. A lot of them passed away in an accident that was completely out of their control. Some things that were safety issues. I remember, at the beginning of my service, they would always read the blotter for the weekend of, all these guys that passed away for really crazy things that you would be like, oh man, you don't want to be fixing your gas tank in the middle of the night, not have a flashlight and pull out your lighter and end up, blowing yourself up under the car. But these things happen. And, these guys did it during service. Their service time, it's a service related issue. And they're taken care of, and they're buried with that accident that occurred. And so that's very, very sad, but it's one of those things that occurred, as well as on the battlefield serving in bravery. So you got that whole wide spectrum of guys that serve this country. And as we think about them, this is a time for America to focus on it. I get to focus on it every day. We talk about it, we deal with it, we work on it, but that's my scope. I'm gonna give this over to Vince, and we'll get to Tom, and we'll come back around. But thanks a lot, guys, for being here, and I'd love to hear from you what this day means to you guys and how it kind of reflects back on things.
Sure, absolutely. It's a difficult one for me. It truly is. I've lost a lot of good buddies throughout the years, and sadly enough, as with most of us, I've lost more since I've been out all these years to suicide, car accidents, as like one of your old podcasts is, chasing our own chaos or causing chaos. That's truly what we lose our lives to a lot of times. And it's very painful. Like you said, Chief, it is an everyday thing that we have to acknowledge. And then, like Tom was saying about using our tools to get through them every single day. And then on top of that, volunteering our time with people and sometimes talking those people off the proverbial ledge. We're dealing with theirs as well. And we have to be able to help them out the best we can just to make sure that they're with us tomorrow. And it is very, very difficult, especially trying to get past your own thoughts in your own head, trying to put yourself out there for others as well. Because in all reality, in those situations, we have to be the most vulnerable person in the room, because we got to be able to empathize to what that person is going through. It might be worse or scarier than our situation, or it might be a lot easier than our situation. But as we know with PTSD and stuff, it hits every single person differently, completely, and to different degrees. So it's one of those holidays now that I blanketly see people, just going out, using it as an extra day of the weekend, partying and stuff like that. But for me, it's the fifth generation service member in my body. I'm fifth generation Marine Corps. Before that, before the five of us, there was one generation Navy. And I've got a lot of little cousins that are active duty, Air Force, Army, and Marine Corps. And it's not easy. It's not easy thinking about the past. It's not easy thinking about family, my family's stance and presence in the militaries. But it's one of those things that myself, my father, my grandpa, great grandpa, and so on and so forth, we've all had that humbling picture to look back on, just to remember that not only were they your friends, but there's also been family members that also have come to their demise, met their maker. Good to go.
Thanks, Vince. Appreciate it. Tom.
Memorial Day means a lot to me. I've got generational family that's been in the military since the United States started, basically. But I'm glad we have things like this so we can get on and talk about it, because my grandfather, who was in World War II, hit the beaches of Normandy. He came home, but he didn't talk about it. He just, let it fester. And it's one of those hard things to talk about, but I'm glad we have groups like this where combat vets can come and talk, because we even got Vietnam vet era people in our group that we talk to, and it's a good outlet for them. And Memorial Day, I got up this morning, went out there, put my flag at half staff. I do that every year that I'm home. I've always got my flag up 24/7, because I want to remember the people that came before me and gave me the life that I have in this constitutional republic. If it wasn't for the people that wore the uniform, we wouldn't have the country we have today, or the freedoms that we have to talk about our government and talk about other things that are going on in life. And for the most part, most people in this country have never set foot outside this soil, so they really don't know what we really have compared to what other countries don't have. And how much blood was put on the line for what we have. And I'm very thankful for every veteran that stepped foot on the foreign soil before me to defend our country and to defend our homeland here as well, that we have what we have today. As Vince was saying, people are taking, after the wars, some people are, taking their lives. There's been studies out there that's more than 22 a day. They're just not coming out with a new number, but there's more than 22 people that are taking their lives a day. And my whole goal about doing these things, even especially on Memorial Day, is to get the message out there that there's a group of vets out there that are here to help you if you're having a hard time. And please seek out the help to get the help that you need. We can guide you down the right path. We just can't make you drink the water, but we can help you get there if you truly want the help.
Absolutely.
And I still have issues too. I got embedded anger issues, and that's one big thing I'm working on. And today I'm gonna try not to get angry or set off, because today is the day of remembrance, and we need to remember all of our fallen comrades that have gone before us. So hopefully we have peace through strength in the next 20 years we don't need no more wars. We need to pipe all this stuff down, and hopefully we can get on a peaceful path. That's pretty much what I got for now.
Thanks, Tom. Yeah, you guys, set off a lot of, me being able to remember the reasons why, and the blood that's shed for this country. If you take a moment to realize, the street that you get to drive on, the words you get to put in whatever document you're putting, or whatever school you're going to go to, you want to believe you're going to be able to be safe in that school, minus those that take action against that safeness, which is really unfortunate as well. But the fact that they teach in school a lot. If you're going to work for a school district, the non-violent negotiation class, well, that's all good to go until you meet somebody that doesn't care about non-violence. And unfortunately, something has to be met to stop violence, has to be met with violence sometimes. You could calm, you can try, you can do this. If that's not in the agenda for that individual that's violent, there's a good person that has to become violent in order to put something like that down. And in the process, we could lose our life for it. And we have. And just going into war, I was talking to the guys a little bit earlier. If I'm not mistaken, the first death in the Iraq conflict was before we even went into combat there. It was, on one of the RCT, an Air Force guy got ran over by a vehicle. And, my XO and a couple of guys were laying in a hole. The Humvee had left, and my XO was killed by somebody not ground guiding a vehicle in 3-5 as we were pushing through the major fight. Wasn't even in the fight. Ended up dying by getting ran over by our own vehicle. So, these things, accidents happen. And then a lot of my buddies, that I've known, died in combat. First Corpsman, Michael Johnston, passed away in Iraq. Just a bunch of different things like this. But I reflect on that today, but I reflect on it every day, really. But most of the time, I reflect on it in the sense that we have the opportunity and the resources, and these two guys with me, battle buddies. I call this as a battle buddy program to move forward in a positive direction is what I ask. We can all fall back. It's really easy to be destructive, but it's really hard to kind of take your foot and move forward and be like, hey, I'm not going to be stubborn today. I'm going to let this out. I'm going to be able to talk about it. I'm going to move forward. And still, you can put that foot forward and still get hit by a car. So, no matter what, there's a lot of people serving, a lot of people doing some really good things out there to push our veterans into a better lifestyle, a better place for themselves to prevent any further deaths up until, old age gets you. But that's expected, that's expected. But a lot of things that happen in our lives are not expected, but then our lives are over, and someone's dealing with that right now. So I appreciate everybody that's served, that lost their lives, and those that are actually driving forward in their name, in their thoughts. You have them in your thoughts. You have them in your role. It's an amazing thing that we get to do that. And so, yeah, I'll throw it back out to you guys. If you got anything else to, feel free to throw it out there.
Well, just like you were saying, literally when people think about the rights of freedom of speech, the first thing that pops into my mind is Tiananmen Square. Yeah, it pops in my head. It's, China, bigger country than us, but they mowed down their own citizens to stop their speech, to stop what they were doing, because the government said no. We do that all the time in America. People have the rights to do their groups, to do, everything. Whether it be a pride flag, whether it be BLM, whether it be whatever they want, as long as they follow the laws, peaceful protests and so on and so forth, they can do it. That doesn't really happen anywhere else. So people don't realize it and they take that for granted. But old Marine Corps cadence say it the best: what makes the green grass grow? Exactly.
Right on.
There's not one piece of sod in America that hasn't been laid and watered with blood.
I want to talk about that for a minute, Vince. You're right. America's so free that you can do whatever you want for the most part within the laws. And sometimes you're so free that you're going to be disrespectful to the freedom that you have.
Yep.
And that's the sad part, right?
Absolutely.
We used to be a more respectful country in the sense that, the law had a certain upstanding ability about it. And I want to say the law has a hard battle because there's a lot of problems in the system. There's a lot of drugs in people's system. There's a lot of issues. They have it hard. And everybody, talks about defunding the law, which is a very strange thing. But I want to say, I hope that we never get to the point where we as Americans that are serving in our country's military gets looked at like the way the law is today. And it's an unfortunate thing. I'm glad that we're starting to see, I want to say some cool, video cams of the law, doing their thing, and they're actually got the video cams and they're worried about guys that aren't going too slow in the fast lane, taking those freedoms that you have. You can do it, but they're going to give you a ticket now, or they're going to give you a warning. So have some respect and respect the fact that we serve our country and we come back to a country that sometimes doesn't look as respectable as it should. When meanwhile in the military, there's a standard of respect. There's all this, so we become very bitter and frustrated with the lack of it. And we get road rage issues or these things and end up, chaos that kills us. And that's an unfortunate thing. So I just want to say, as I think about those that have passed away, some of them have passed away trying to keep some of those respectable things upholded. And a drive-by that some guy, I don't know. I know one of my buddies was killed in a drive-by because he was trying to do put respect back in the category. So, if you want to do something good for our country, be respectful of something that you believe should have the respect, but because society says it shouldn't, isn't always the case. Because sooner or later, society might say the military doesn't deserve our respect. And if that's the case, that's the last institute that we got. And we have too many of us that are sitting there like, why would I serve this country in a political manner when I don't believe our politics are legally bound to the same rules that I am? Nor do they run the government like I run my house. If I don't pay my bills properly, if I don't balance my budgets, if I don't sometimes if my door is open and everybody could come in and live in it, then it's not my house. So I don't mean to get off on that tangent, but I want to say
very true though.
I want to say something about it, but I don't say it hard enough, and I don't say it to the right people, and I'm not out there protesting about it because I already served this country, and I'm happy, and I'm trying to figure things out, and I struggle through things, and I go to warrior groups on Tuesdays so I could bounce this off you guys. And what's cool about this right here, this is kind of a warrior group because there's three of us here. We're having this great discussion. We're able to throw some things out there. We're talking about Memorial Day, these things that kind of mean something to us. And I want to believe that I'm not invited to a grave where I take my own life because they fought in the field and got shot by the enemy or destroyed by the enemy. They would have loved to go home to their families. So why should I be allowed to sit in the grave with them. So that's just something to think about.
Absolutely.
Well, I was going to say, when Vince was talking about what's going on in China and all that with Tiananmen Square, there's actually a Chinese pro-democracy group here in California that built, it's called Liberty Sculpture Park. It's out in Yermo, out in the middle of the damn desert. And there's actually a monument with a tank with a person standing in front of it at Tiananmen Square. So people are in Southern California on their way out to Vegas or on the way home or on the way into California. It's a pretty neat little place to check out. They got a whole bunch of other sculptures. And then there's a candy store right next door where if they ain't got it, they don't make it no more.
Our kind of stop.
Yeah.
But
I actually drove out there. I work in Yermo, and I drove out there one day to go see this park, and it was pretty neat.
Nice.
And you see all the little signs of the people who are wanting freedom, especially the people from Hong Kong and stuff like that, where they lost their freedoms. But we still have our freedoms because we have men and women that want to serve our country to keep our freedoms. And what I used to tell people while I was in the service, we're the dictatorship that the military is a dictatorship because you have a structure, you have a chain of command and all that stuff. You got to follow all these orders. But we're in place to make sure that people that have freedom in our constitutional republic, because a constitutional republic gives everybody their individual freedoms.
Mm-hmm.
Unlike democracy, it's majority rules, but majority rules turns into dictatorships.
Absolutely.
But a constitutional republic gives everybody their independent freedoms. Mm-hmm. And that's what all the amendments in the Constitution are about, is your free liberties that you have as an American citizen.
Well, even to that note, in the Marine Corps military, you still have things like request mast. If that order was unlawful, there's a way to get around it, as long as you follow that proper procedure.
Right.
Yeah, but that's a weird thing that you're bringing up, Tom. The fact that when you're wearing that uniform, when you're in that, you're under a whole different set of rules and regulations that have nothing to do with the freedom that you're fighting for.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
When you're in this uniform, you're there to carry out a mission, a plan, a lawful order. And that's why a lot of people get feared of, hey, what if the military comes and takes away your weapons? What if the military comes? I believe that there's a lot, if that order ever came, that's an unlawful order. Mm-hmm. And therefore, I believe our staff would say no to that any given day of the week, because we do have to follow the Constitution. We in the military do. I sometimes wonder about our government, but the military is still following the Constitution.
Well, it's like that Marine Colonel Stu. I can't remember his last name right now, but he stepped up and said some people should take responsibility for what happened in Afghanistan.
Yep.
And they ran him through the ringer and basically kicked him out, dishonorable discharge, put him in the brig, mm-hmm. all that stuff. And he was just saying that people need to be responsible for their actions. There was a lack of communication and failure that happened in theater that caused a lot of that to happen. And nobody took responsibility for it. And something smaller here, where if you would have gone out in the field and being a doc, you would have gave a Marine or a soldier the wrong medicine and something happened to him, you would have had repercussions for your actions that you did because you didn't properly treat the individual or you properly treat the situation.
Or Tom, just like for you or I, if we broke the ROEs, the rules of engagement, and engaged in enemy combatant or what we thought was an enemy combatant, or used too much force, escalation of force being what it is for us, we break those ROEs, we're done. We're charged with war crimes.
Yeah. And unfortunately, it's the politicians that make the ROEs who've never stepped foot in a combat zone. Because you got a person that's in a crowded area with a lot of civilians shooting at you, and you're not allowed to shoot back. Or happened a lot in Iraq. You had guys in the mosques shooting at you, calling in fire on top of you, but you weren't allowed to shoot at the mosque because of the rules of engagement. That target is not a target. Just like the same thing happened in Vietnam War with Ho Chi Minh Trail. You knew where the ammo was coming from, all the arms and all the troops were coming from, but you weren't allowed to take that section out because of our politics. Here, politicians running the war.
Yeah, there might be 10,000 different ways to kill you, but we're only allowed a few.
Right.
Yes. So we've lost a lot of guys to rules of engagement, you know, and there's many times that I was on the gun that just, you know, saying, hey, I can't shoot here, I can't shoot there. The street's full of people. The 50 cal is not an option here. So, you know, yeah, and we've lost a lot of guys just like to accidents, to rules of engagement, to upholding the wall. Someone's on the wall.
Yeah, exactly.
We cannot fire until fired upon. And sometimes fired upon means we lose 2 or 3 before we get on it. So it's a strange thing. And I want to say, you know, I want to say the enemy is always playing silly games with us because they know we're not going to fire on them until they fire upon us, but they'll do all kinds of shady things in between.
Like, remember when we started making those sandbag dummies in Iraq?
Yeah.
So the sandbag dummy would get shot.
Yeah, let's not forget the sandbag dummy.
Yeah, but see,
it's laying back in its dirt.
A lot of places that we end up having conflict with have learned a lot from the Vietnam War, where in Vietnam, even the communists in Vietnam said, we would have won the war, but we lost the political war at our home front. And the same thing ended up happening with this 20-year war we had in Afghanistan. We started losing the political war on that because we're too busy out there trying to win the hearts and minds of people. World War II, we didn't win the hearts and minds of people. We won the minds of them, not their hearts.
Yeah, we took it to war.
We took it to war. And when we go to war, we need to take it to war. Not all this political crap that's going on. Even today, with all the stuff going on coming in the military too, you know, all the rules changes and all that. That's another thing that, I've been a veteran in 2 different decades. You know, I was in the 90s and I went back in the 2000s. But a lot of veterans don't like change. You know, even as a recovering alcoholic, I don't like change because I've set myself down this path and everything's good. But when you start having all this change, then that's when you start having problems with your head and other stuff. And just like in the Marine Corps when I was in, I know there's 2 types of Marines. You had your garrison Marine and you had your field Marine. Yeah. Well, the field Marine was a shitbird in garrison most of the time, always getting in trouble, you know, having problems. But when you were out in the field or in combat, that was your best man on the line.
And the guy that did cigarettes.
Yeah, but they got the job done. Absolutely. And a lot of people get in trouble too in the military too with the Uniform Military Code of Conduct because they get in trouble in garrison. They don't get in trouble when they're in combat or they're on a deployment or they're in the field. I mean, they strive out there. They just can't come back to all the rigorous, you know, you got to live in this box. But when you're in combat, you can kind of go outside the box. Or in the field, you can go outside the box. You got to adapt and overcome. Yep. But in garrison, there's no overcoming or adapting. You're going to, well, there's adapting, but you're going to adapt to these guidelines, and that's it.
Yep. It's like you're a extremely highly disciplined civilian on base that has to follow a gnarly set of rules as well as have your uniform perfect at all times. Yeah, I hated garrison.
Garrison was a lot of games with none of the fun.
Yep. Yeah. The only thing that was about garrison was polished spit shine boots, man.
And that's not even a requirement anymore because those boots don't exist.
Nope.
Yeah, I still got a pair.
They're nice and fuzzy now. Hey, I want to say, you know, we still have a couple more minutes, but you know, to focus on this day is to have a little bit of memory of the subject matter of a memorial of someone who's passed away, given their lives to this country, and at the same time being able to enjoy the day the way that they would want you to enjoy it.
Absolutely.
So don't lose track of that. No one's saying not to have fun, but do it with a little bit of set memory, a little bit of learning, and just kind of, and I'm learning from you guys. Bringing you guys on here was super awesome for me, because I want, I could bounce my own head about this all day long, but to get your perspectives, your takes on it, a true honor. Feel free to throw something else out there. We got a couple more minutes, guys, and much love and respect for you.
I was going to say, just take one name, look up one name, and try to look up the history of the individual that gave their life during a decade that you probably could. If you didn't serve, just look up a classmate that might have passed.
Mm-hmm.
And look up where he's at or she's at, and remember them.
Here's one for you. 2006, my buddy from high school. He was in boot camp to class before me, or the cycle before me, rather. His name's David McKenzie. 2 or 3 tours in Iraq during the invasion. He was a 0331, and on the way back from 29 Palms to Laguna, he was killed by a drunk driver. And he's a very good friend of mine. Still good friends with his brother and his family as well. And from my own personal family, yes, I have an uncle named Rudolph Algar Nunez Jr. Rudolph Algar Nunez. And he was a FO in the Army, a forward observer, a scout back in those days. And he was killed on point in patrol by a landmine in Vietnam. And my uncle Eric, his son, is now retired law enforcement, but that was a hard one. My uncle Eric, Rudy, and his son Rudolph Jr. Grew up without their dad, like completely. Like they really never got to know him. So they've lived their entire life with the memory of my uncle, their father, but nothing but that memory. It's a hard one.
Well, it's a hard weekend for Gold Star families, especially.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, and look up a Gold Star family and learn about their history.
Or even just Google.
Google it.
Yeah, Google Gold Star. It's amazing. It's absolutely mind-boggling what people, when you go and read about them and the warrant citations and stuff like that. It gives me goosebumps just talking about it.
Yeah.
Like today, I probably won't go much anywhere today. I'll probably just do some barbecuing with me, my son, my wife, my mom. But at some point today, I'll absolutely be sitting down with my 9-year-old son and reminding him what Memorial Day truly is. And of course, the differences between Memorial Day and Veterans Day. And even though I'm kind of beating a dead horse with it at this point with him, it's important that I feel to bring that back into his psyche and bring that back into him to instill that, per se, esprit de corps in him. Because it's not only, that blood's not only strangers, it's also our families. It's also mine. It's also Tom's and Chief's. It's not just somebody that you don't know.
I was having this discussion with my son yesterday. He asked me about it.
Mm-hmm. There's a couple of years ago when I was in a horrible headspace, when I was living back in Wildomar, I had really wanted to watch the movie Memorial Day. I just really, really, really wanted to watch it. And I knew it was going to mess me up bad, but I had to watch it anyways. And I challenge whoever has the intestinal fortitude to watch that today. And it ripped me apart. I was bawling like a 2-year-old with a skin knee. I was just crying my eyes out. But I needed that. I needed that release, but I also needed that moment to take in the sheer gravity of the friends that I've lost and the family that I've lost. And that movie is just absolutely amazing. It's a great movie. and it's a lot of interaction between a older veteran and his grandson. It's very powerful.
I have to check that out. I watched The Convent the other night.
Oh, that's a good one.
Where he went and got his interpreter out, and that was still a powerful movie because what that guy went through to save his life, and this guy wanted paid respect by getting that guy out. You know, that's what warriors do and veterans do. We don't forget the people that helped us. We're instilled with service in us, and that's what we want to do. We want to help people. Any way we can serve. Like people get out of the military, end up becoming law enforcement or police or fire department or doctors or paramedics and a whole bunch of other different types of giving back to the community because they still have a calling of service. And
Absolutely.
That's a special breed in a lot of people. You know, I never gave back after I got out by becoming a law enforcement officer or anything, but by doing this is my service by giving back, trying to help people.
Absolutely. It's mine as well. And, you know, it's kind of funny, but Tom and I, you know, I know for myself, absolutely. I learned a lot of that from Chief blazing the trail for us.
Yeah.
You know, and it was very important. I mean, Chief, you talk about that buddy check and the camaraderie, the honor, you know, between us all. I mean, like when I look at my screen right now, I see the man that saved my life. You know, and how did he do that? By being himself, by being real,
Definitely.
Yeah.
That's where I got the tools from my toolbox that I use.
I know.
You know, about 8 years ago, I was pointed towards there by Brian Colburn, who's running this podcast.
Yeah.
And it got me on the right path. I wasn't ready then, but it gave me the tools I needed so I was finally ready to surrender to my inner demons and give up alcohol.
Exactly. Well, and then me, I mean, I've had my bouts, not like yours, Tom, but it's amazing in the aspect that our lives have by any means not been easy, but at the same time, now that we're getting older and we're choosing to stop these demons and fight and push forward, we are making great strides towards moving forward. But now it's like a second level of healing when we choose that we want to help and give back. We want to partake in this. We want to make this journey, and we realize the importance of doing it together.
Yeah, and I've learned by helping others, it's also helping me at the same time.
Exactly.
You know,
I wish more people would watch these podcasts, you know, in all reality, because it brings another light to veterans that people don't know, because a lot of people don't want to get on this level with us. You know, like Chief said many a times in group, sometimes it's not for public consumption. You know, we're not general public. So, of course, the stuff that's on our minds, our hearts, our souls, and our emotions, a lot of times aren't. They're too dark. They're too scary. They're too real for the public to deal with. And that's, you know, for us, that's why it's important that we make ourselves and we stand ready for others. So it's very crazy.
Yeah. And I mean, if it wasn't for all these different groups I belong to and meeting Chief, and I mean, I knew Brian Colburn since I was a paper boy. So
oh, you got a dog on Brian like that.
But I mean, it's networking, and that's a thing you got to do is network, especially if you're a combat vet out there, or even a veteran that had some type of traumatic incident, not in combat, but in the rear with the gear, or, you know, in garrison or field op. There are tools out there, and there are groups out there that are there to support you. And for the civilians that watch, a lot of these groups are nonprofit, and hopefully they do a little research into them and see the good that they do. And if they can, maybe make a little donation towards these nonprofits that help combat veterans and other veterans alike.
Absolutely. And people don't realize too, those little donations stack up fast. It's nuts.
Yeah.
Even if it's just $1 from, 50 different people, that's still $50. And that goes a long way for us because we'll stretch every penny as far as we possibly can.
Almost definitely.
Well, thanks a lot, guys. Thanks for being here. I mean, there's a lot to it. A couple shout outs real quick, and then a couple things, man. I love having you guys. It's been an honor to be on this show today and Memorial Day to kind of bring this whole topic to fruition. Noah Everman, the reason I'm throwing these names out there, some of these guys didn't get killed in while they served, but as I talk about Warrior Built and the PTSD Foundation being a never-ending duty station, I still feel like I'm serving. I did exactly what I did when I was at Wounded Warrior Battalion West, helping combat vets, the wounded, ill, and injured. But these guys also got help through, the adrenaline rush you get at Warrior Built doing some racing. Noah Everman, Chris Carlisle, 2-time Purple Heart recipient. These guys have passed away. Robert Graves, unfortunately, the only guy that I had an opportunity to sell the PTSD Foundation of America to. And, I'm a good salesman when it comes to trying to get some guy some help, and he wasn't ready to get that help. He actually took his life on Memorial Day, so some years ago. So, as a guy that I was really trying to help, but just didn't happen. And I can't help everybody, but I believe I really try. But through his loss, a lot of really good things has happened from that. So. Thanks to all the help and support from his mom, making that happen, and really looking for the help. Hey, there's some really good podcasts out there. Tom's podcast, he puts some stuff out every once in a while on Tom's journey. It's really cool. I was able to be in his podcast as well and talk about the sober and how important it is to kind of get your life in order. Really good stuff. Bridge the Gap was given to me by the Master Chief that was on the USS Cole today. He hit me up and asked me to take a look at this podcast. There's only like 5 of them out there. They do one a month, but Bridge the Gap seems to be a really good podcast. I was really looking at that. And then the Field Op, Tom was on that just recently, so check those out. And Brian Colburn, thanks for making this a reality. This podcast. This is a place to bring a lot of different things to the table. But again, everything that's going on here is our lives, our personal experiences, our opinions. This does not necessarily reflect the opinions of every vet out there, but it's definitely ours. And so, I'm not going to speak on behalf of everybody, but the majority of what I talk about on here is a collaborative between the lessons I've learned from many, many veterans and the lives that I get to be involved in. And I'll tell you why the group is so important. It's because you might lose your, and I'll tell you, matter of fact, Brian Colburn sent me this guy, that everybody's probably seen recently, that was pulled over on the side of the road, just crying, talking, very direct at how he's had to go through therapist after therapist after therapist. And what's cool about a group is you don't go through a therapist after a therapist. This is a peer-to-peer mentorship, but you already talked about 8 guys that are in the group consistently. So you don't always have to tell your story the same way all the time. And if 4 of them are missing next week, you're still okay because you got 4 battle buddies that and it helps you kind of go along with it. But you have to find a group that's right for you. You have to find the therapist that's right for you. You have to find the source that's right for you. And you have to find your path that's right for you. Because I don't have all the paths like these guys have talked about. We have paths that we can put you on. I haven't necessarily taken a path, but I know the easy steps to get to where you want to go on some of those paths. And at the end, I want to know how it worked out for you. Because maybe you're going to come back and say, hey, the path was cool, but in 1985, the curriculum was written. And it really doesn't fit the path of today. So, and I heard that yesterday. But it's still a cool path. But hey, that's all I got. Hey, you guys got anything else to add? If you want to get a hold of any of these guys, you could do it through my podcast. Vince, throw it out real quick how they could get a hold of you, and then Tom will go with you.
Well, easiest way is that's my Instagram next to my name on the screen. and then that's Tom's Instagram as well. So just find us there is the easiest way. Otherwise, you can always find us on other social medias like Facebook and whatnot. It's pretty easy. One quick thing to add to that, Chief, is that you might not have been through that path. Maybe my path's a little bit different, but our paths overlap because we're brothers. So you come to one of our groups and you might get information from Chief, and maybe I'm sick that week, but the next week I'll be in there. I'll jump on and give you my phone number, stuff like that. And then ask you, rattle off 10 different nonprofits that you can seek help for, and then maybe Tom's got like 15 more nonprofits, or other places and other avenues for help. So it's basically, it's just friends having a conversation and family looking out for family.
Yeah, and our paths may be different, but they always cross.
Mm-hmm.
We always run into another veteran, another person that's going through some same issues we are, and they all taking different paths, but eventually they come together.
Mm-hmm.
And just keep going down that path. That's what I've been doing. That's what I'm trying. I mean, some days are hard.
Mm-hmm.
Some days are better. But it's what you make of the day and what you make of the path that you're taking. And it's not easy. You're gonna have to put in the work.
Oh yeah.
But with these group chats, the Warrior Built and a bunch of other organizations that are out there, we feed off each other and help each other and guide each other down different paths, but eventually they cross back over.
And then Chief's got a bunch of cool, sayings, like the processing one that I always comment on.
Yeah. And my other saying that I really like that I haven't used in a long time is, I'm not against peace, but I'm definitely for those that are about to bring it.
Yep. Savis pacem parabellum. If you want peace, prepare for war.
Exactly. Hey, hey, that's all I got this week, guys. Hey, this is Combat Vet Vision. This is Aaron Seibert, Tom Kennedy, and Vince Ray on deck today. Until next time, strength and honor. Out.